The hidden network. The alarm cut through the silence of Deep Space Station Omega like a blade through silk. Commander Victoria Cross jerked awake in her quarters, her military instincts snapping her to full alertness before her eyes had even adjusted to the dim emergency lighting. The red glow bathed everything in an ominous crimson that made her stomach clench with dread. She had been expecting this day for 15 years, but hoping it would never come. Victoria rolled out of her bunk and into her uniform in one fluid motion, muscle memory guiding her hands as her mind raced. The station's AI spoke in its usual calm tone, but she could hear the underlying urgency in its programming. Commander Cross, Priority Alpha Alert. Unknown fleet signatures detected at system perimeter. Requesting immediate command presence in Control Center 1. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead of her as she ran, her boots echoing against the metal flooring. Other crew members emerged from their quarters, faces pale but determined. They had trained for this moment, but theory was nothing compared to the cold reality now facing them. Deep Space Station Omega hung in the darkness beyond Pluto's orbit, invisible to most sensors and unknown to Earth's general population. It was one of 12 such stations forming humanity's secret early warning network, established after the Kepler discovery event had revealed that Earth was not alone in the universe. What the public didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this day ever since. The control center buzzed with activity as Victoria entered. Dozens of technicians worked at their stations, their faces illuminated by the glow of holographic displays showing fleet movements, tactical assessments, and communication intercepts. At the center of it all stood General Marcus Kane, a mountain of a man whose presence commanded respect from every person in the room. "Report," Victoria said, sliding into her command chair. "Massive fleet approaching from the Proxima Centauri vector," Kane replied, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were facing. "Our long-range sensors picked them up 12 hours ago. They're big, Victoria. Bigger than anything we've ever seen." The main display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional representation of the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of the approaching fleet, a constellation of death moving inexorably toward Earth. Victoria felt her breath catch as the computer calculated fleet strength. 247 vessels, the AI announced. Estimated crew complement. 4.7 million beings. Projected arrival at Earth orbit, 14 days, 6 hours, 22 minutes. Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her workstation, her usually calm demeanor cracked by the stress of the situation. As humanity's leading xenolinguist, she had been monitoring alien communications for years, but this was the first time she had intercepted active invasion chatter. "I've been analyzing their communications," Sarah said, her voice tight with controlled fear. "They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. From what I can understand, they've conquered 17 star systems over the past 3 centuries. They don't take prisoners, Victoria. They strip mine entire worlds and use the local populations as slave labor until they die." The weight of those words settled over the room like a shroud. Victoria had known this day might come, but hearing the cold reality of it made her chest tighten. Earth's population had no idea that in 2 weeks' time, their entire civilization might cease to exist. But the Zephyrians had made one critical mistake. They assumed that humanity was like every other species they had encountered. They thought Earth was an isolated, primitive world with no defenses beyond its atmosphere. They were wrong. "Activate the Sentinel Protocol," Victoria commanded, her voice carrying across the control center with absolute authority. General Kane nodded and moved to a secured console. He placed his palm on the scanner, waited for the DNA confirmation, then spoke clearly into the microphone. "This is General Marcus Kane, authorization code Alpha 77 Tango. I am implementing the Sentinel Protocol under Executive Authority 1. Confirm activation." The A's response was immediate. Sentinel Protocol activated, notifying all deep space assets, awakening sleeper cells throughout the solar system. Estimated time to full operational status, 18 hours. Victoria allowed herself a grim smile. The Zephyrians thought they were attacking a defenseless world. They had no idea that humanity had spent the last 15 years building the most sophisticated defense network in known space. Hidden bases on asteroids, cloaked ships patrolling the outer system, weapons platforms disguised as mining operations, and most importantly, a unified human military command that spanned from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. Captain Alex Rodriguez appeared on the communications screen from Mars Defense Station. His weathered face showed the determination that had made him humanity's most decorated space combat veteran. Behind him, Victoria could see his crew preparing for battle, their movements efficient and purposeful. "Victoria, we're reading the fleet signatures here too," Alex said. "My people are ready. We've been drilling for this scenario for years. The Mars Defense Fleet can deploy 64 combat vessels within 6 hours." "Excellent, Alex. What's the status of the civilian evacuation protocols?" "Already in motion. The colonies are being moved to the deep shelters as we speak. Everyone from the belt to the outer moons knows the drill. We'll have non-combatants secured within 48 hours. Dr. Chen looked up from her console again, her expression having shifted from fear to something approaching excitement. "Victoria, I'm intercepting more of their communications. They're talking about Earth like it's already conquered. They're dividing up our resources, discussing which cities to level first for psychological impact. But here's the interesting part. They have no intelligence about our space-based assets. None at all." General Kane studied the tactical display, his strategic mind already working through possibilities. "They're approaching in a standard conquest formation. All their heavy ships at the front, support vessels protected in the center. It's designed to overwhelm planetary defenses through sheer firepower. They're not expecting to encounter organized resistance until they reach Earth's orbit. Then we don't let them get that far," Victoria decided. "We hit them here, in the deep system, where Earth's population won't be caught in the crossfire. Sarah, can you determine their command structure?" "Already working on it. The Zephyrians use a rigid hierarchical system. Take out their command ships, and the rest of the fleet should fall into disarray. I'm identifying the flagship now. It's that massive vessel at the center of their formation." Victoria nodded and turned to address the entire control center. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we face the greatest threat humanity has ever encountered. But we are not the primitive species the Zephyrians believe us to be. We are the children of a world that has survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and our own worst impulses. We have spread across the solar system not through conquest, but through determination and ingenuity. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." The crew responded with a cheer that echoed through the station. Victoria felt a surge of pride as she watched them return to their duties with renewed energy. These men and women represented the best of human civilization. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and explorers who had dedicated their lives to protecting their species. "Alex, begin deploying your fleet. Target the asteroid belt for our first engagement. General Kane, activate all hidden assets from Jupiter to the Kuiper Belt. Dr. Chen, keep monitoring their communications and feed us real-time intelligence. Everyone else, prepare for the fight of our lives." As orders flew across the solar system, hidden bases came alive with activity. On Ceres, massive rail guns emerged from concealed installations. In Jupiter's shadow, the heavy battleship Terra's might powered up its fusion drives for the first time in 5 years. Throughout the asteroid belt, mining ships shed their disguises to reveal weapon arrays that could level mountains. The Zephyrian Empire had spent 3 centuries conquering worlds that fought alone and unprepared. They had never faced a species that had unified its entire star system into a single defensive network. They had never encountered humans. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the communication system as his fleet moved into position. "Victoria, we're detecting some interesting energy signatures from their ships. These Zephyrians might be technologically advanced, but their ships are big and slow. Our fighters should be able to run circles around them." "Good. Remember the doctrine. Hit hard, hit fast, and disappear before they can respond. We use their size against them. Dr. Chen suddenly straightened at her console, her face pale. Victoria, I'm picking up a priority transmission from their fleet. They've detected our outer sensor network. They know we're watching them. On the main display, the red dots representing the Zephyrian fleet began to shift formation. They were adapting, but slowly, like a massive creature trying to change direction. They're splitting into 3 groups, General Kane observed. Looks like they're trying to approach from multiple vectors. Victoria smiled coldly. Perfect. Divide and conquer works both ways. Alex, adjust your positioning. We're going to let them split their forces, then hit each group separately. They want to play tactical games with humanity. Let's show them how it's done. The die was cast. In less than 2 weeks, the Zephyrian Empire would learn why Earth had never been conquered, and why humanity's greatest strength had always been their refusal to surrender when the odds seemed impossible. The Sentinel Protocol was active, and humanity was ready for war. The preemptive strike. The asteroid belt had never seen anything like it. For billions of years, chunks of rock had drifted in their ancient dance around the sun, occasionally colliding in spectacular but pointless displays of cosmic force. Now those same asteroids served as cover for the most ambitious military operation in human history. Captain Alex Rodriguez floated in the command center of the UES Defiant, watching his tactical display with the calm focus of a predator. His fleet of 64 ships had taken position throughout the belt, each vessel hidden behind carefully selected asteroids that masked their heat signatures. The Zephyrian Empire's advanced sensors were impressive, but they were looking for planets and moons, not individual ships playing hide-and-seek among billions of rocks. Target acquisition confirmed, his weapons officer reported. We have clean-firing solutions on the lead elements of their northern formation. Alex nodded, his eyes never leaving the display. The Zephyrians had split their massive fleet into 3 groups, just as General Kane had predicted. The northern group contained 82 ships, including what appeared to be their primary troop transports. Taking them out would cripple any ground invasion before it could begin. Dr. Chen, what's the status on their communications? Sarah's voice crackled over the fleet communications network from Deep Space Station Omega. They're maintaining radio silence now that they know we're watching, but I'm still picking up their encrypted tactical channels. They're moving cautiously, trying to scan for hidden defenses. The good news is they still don't have any idea of our true capabilities. Outstanding. All ships, this is Rodriguez. Execute Operation Asteroid Storm in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The asteroid belt erupted in coordinated violence. 64 human ships emerged from hiding simultaneously, their railgun batteries and plasma cannons lighting up space with deadly precision. The Zephyrian ships, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond as human weapons tore through their formations. The advantage of surprise was overwhelming. Human ships, smaller and more maneuverable than their alien counterparts, danced between asteroids while unleashing devastating volleys. The Zephyrians' massive vessels, designed for overwhelming planetary defenses, found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered in the chaotic environment of the asteroid belt. Direct hit on their troop transport, the weapons officer reported with satisfaction. That's one invasion army that won't be landing on Earth. Alex watched as the battle unfolded with brutal efficiency. Human crews had trained for this exact scenario for years, practicing coordinated attacks in asteroid fields until they could execute them in their sleep. The Zephyrians, despite their technological advantages, were fighting in an environment they had never encountered before. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship, the communications officer announced. It's on all frequencies. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the alien flagship. The being standing at its center was clearly the fleet commander, tall, reptilian, with scales that gleamed under harsh lighting. Its eyes burned with a mixture of rage and confusion. "I am War Leader Krath of the Zephyrian Empire." The alien spoke, its voice translated by Dr. Chen's linguistic algorithms. "You will surrender immediately or face total annihilation. Your resistance is futile against the might of our fleet." Alex laughed, the sound carrying clearly over the communication channel. "War Leader Krath, this is Captain Alex Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force. I'm afraid you've made a serious miscalculation. You're not facing a primitive world today. You're facing humanity, and we don't surrender." The screen went dark as Krath cut the transmission, but Alex was already moving on to the next phase of the battle. "All ships, execute dispersal pattern Delta. Let's show these lizards what hit-and-run tactics look like." The human fleet scattered, each ship following per-planned routes through the asteroid field. The Zephyrians tried to pursue, but their massive vessels were too unwieldy for the environment. Several alien ships collided with asteroids while trying to navigate the field, their hulls cracking open and venting atmosphere into space. Meanwhile, at Jupiter's largest moon, another phase of humanity's defense was beginning. The hidden base on Ganymede came alive as Commander Lisa Park received the ghost signal from Deep Space Command. Her facility, disguised as a research station for the past decade, housed humanity's most advanced weapons development program. "Bring the Javelin online," she commanded her engineering team. "Target the central Zephyrian formation." The Javelin was humanity's secret weapon, a mass accelerator that could launch projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Built into Ganymede's core and powered by fusion reactors, it was essentially a sniper rifle the size of a small moon. The Zephyrians had no idea it existed. Target locked. Firing solution confirmed. Projectile away. A tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole streaked across the solar system at unprecedented speed, its passage marked only by the brief flare of its passage through the thin interplanetary medium. The Zephyrian command ship, detecting the incoming projectile too late to evade, took the impact directly amidships. The result was catastrophic. The kinetic energy released by the impact tore the massive vessel apart, its hull buckling and collapsing as atmosphere vented into space. Secondary explosions rippled through the dying ship as its own weapons and fuel stores detonated. War Leader Krath, watching his flagship die around him, felt something he had never experienced in 3 centuries of conquest: fear. These humans were not like the other species his empire had encountered. They fought with a coordination and viciousness that spoke of careful preparation and absolute determination. "All ships, emergency retreat to Rally Point 7, he transmitted to his surviving fleet. "We need to reassess this situation." But humanity wasn't finished. As the Zephyrian fleet tried to withdraw, hidden weapons platforms throughout the outer solar system came online. What the aliens had assumed were automated mining operations revealed themselves as massive gun emplacements. The retreat became a running battle as human weapons reached out across millions of kilometers to savage the fleeing invaders. General Kane watched the battle unfold from Deep Space Station Omega, his experienced eye taking in every detail of the engagement. "They're trying to regroup beyond Neptune's orbit," he reported to Commander Cross. "But their casualties are severe. We've destroyed or disabled nearly 40% of their fleet." Victoria nodded, her expression grim with satisfaction. "What's the status of their remaining forces?" "Scattered and demoralized. Dr. Chen is intercepting panic transmissions across their fleet. They're calling for reinforcements, but the nearest Zephyrian battle group is 6 months away at their best speed." Sarah Chen looked up from her communication station, her face bright with excitement. "Victoria, you need to hear this. I'm picking up a transmission from War Leader Krath to his homeworld. He's reporting that Earth is defended by what he calls an advanced warrior species with technology beyond their previous intelligence estimates. He's recommending that the Zephyrian Empire classify humanity as a major galactic threat." The control center erupted in cheers. Victoria felt a surge of pride as she looked around at her crew. They had done the impossible. They had not only repelled an alien invasion, but they had sent a message to the galaxy that Earth was not an easy target. "All ships pursue the retreating fleet," Victoria commanded. "Drive them out of our solar system and make sure they understand the price of threatening humanity." The final phase of the battle was more of a pursuit than a fight. Human ships, faster and more agile than their alien counterparts, harried the Zephyrian fleet all the way to the edge of the solar system. Every few hours, another alien ship would fall behind and be destroyed by human weapons. By the time the surviving Zephyrians reached the heliopause, their once mighty fleet had been reduced to fewer than 80 ships. War leader Kraft, commanding from a damaged cruiser after the loss of his flagship, transmitted one final message to the human fleet. "This is not over, humans. The Zephyrian Empire remembers its enemies." Captain Rodriguez, commanding the pursuit fleet, responded with typical human defiance. "War leader Kraft, you're welcome to try again anytime. But next time, bring more ships. You're going to need them." As the battered remnants of the Zephyrian fleet limped away toward deep space, humanity celebrated its first victory in what would become known as the Solar War. But more importantly, they had established themselves as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. Dr. Chen intercepted dozens of transmissions over the following weeks as word of the battle spread through galactic communication networks. The Zephyrian Empire's defeat at the hands of a primitive species sent shockwaves through established galactic powers. Some species began reaching out to Earth, seeking trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. Others started making plans to avoid human space entirely. Commander Victoria Cross stood in the observation deck of Deep Space Station Omega, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed quite so distant or threatening. Humanity had passed its first test as a spacefaring civilization, and they had passed it with flying colors. "What do you think comes next?" General Kane asked, joining her at the observation window. Victoria smiled, her eyes bright with possibilities. "Next, we make sure the galaxy knows that Earth is not just defended. It's defended by humans, and humans, General, are very good at making friends with their neighbors and very dangerous to their enemies." The age of human isolation was over. The age of humanity as a galactic power had begun, and it had started with a simple message delivered at the speed of light. Earth was not for conquest. The Sentinel Protocol had succeeded beyond all expectations, and the galaxy would never be the same.